Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host Gamer K, and it is the end of June, and it's summertime finally. Although it feels like it's been summer for a while now because of the weather. But overall, it's time to end this month right. And we are going to plant and then uproot some of the best bosses of the botanical nature. That's right, it is Gamer K's top 13 plant bosses. I've taken a little inspiration from another famous YouTuber who does a lot of boss lists. You know what? Yeah, basically. And coming up with this botanical list is not that easy because plant bosses are very rare in certain video games that I play. But you know what? Let's get our gardening gloves on. Let's get some soil. Okay, seriously, who wrote these jokes? Who wrote this script? Oh, right. I don't have a writing staff. It's okay. So let's begin. Rules, as always. One per video game series. Only games I played and bosses I've beaten. So, and I may be stretching the term of boss fight just a smidge on some of these bosses. So, bear with me. And the rules are, and again, qualifying rules are as follows. They must be plant in nature or use plants in said boss fight. Either in their motif, in their design, or again, in their battle and the way they fight. So, let's see how many of us have green thumbs opposed to blistered thumbs. And why top 13? Because here at the Game Hub, only the odd can be number one. Let's start it off. Starting off the list is a very, very weak boss fight in terms of design and, of course, plot, basically. Near the end of the game, Puppeteer, one of my all-time favorite platformer games, throughout the game, or throughout the first chapter of the game, we had to deal with the vile vines. Yeah, those things appeared, made problems, and then at the end of the game, when we return to the White Castle, it's been overgrown with the vile vines, and we fight the vile vine core. I believe I talked about this one in my ranking the bosses in Puppeteer, and my opinion hasn't changed. Even though this is a plant boss technically, it's pretty generic, where you just reflect the moonlight onto the eyes of the plant, and then you have to go through individual sections of the carousel technical stadium and basically destroy all of its bulbs and remove the final bulb. It's pretty clear and cut, and as far as plant bosses go, it would definitely be one not people would think of, but I play a lot of obscure games, so yeah, this one's on the list. Basically is filler, but it's also a pretty okay boss fight in terms of the theme. Next up, all the way from Dreamland, we get a really old boss fight. Wispy Woods from Kirby and the Crystal Shards for N64. The first main boss, well, not main boss, but final level boss of the Crystal Shards. And Wispy Woods is a staple in any Kirby video game, even the ones on the Game Boy, and even in some of the new games, Wispy Woods is, how do I basically put it out there? It's basically like, what's a generic Mario boss? Basically, yeah, it's basically this guy. Every single video game has to have a version of him at least some point. And Wispy Woods is fantastic. Having this kind of this center of the arena, and you go around the arena strategy, basically. Wispy starts off with just shooting air at you, while his 3 little seedlings go around the arena. All you gotta do is destroy those little seedlings, and Wispy will get mad. And then he'll turn red, as most Nintendo bosses do when they are angry, and send out his roots as spikes in the 4 areas of the arena. Basically, you just gotta dodge them and damage them. And then he'll shake some apples and they will fall on you. Basically, Wispy is a very basic first boss for the Kirby series. And as much as I do like the one from Nightmare in Dreamland and some of the other games, I don't really play a lot of them. And this one I played so many times over my childhood. So, yeah, Wispy Woods gets on the list. And as a plant boss, not bad. Being an overgrown sentient tree. Can we get to the next one? Okay. Hang on. Go. I really gotta get this thing fixed. Okay, remember how I said I was stretching a little bit if they have a plant motif or if they have somewhat plant base in their attacks? Yeah, I'm really stretching it for this one. No Straight Roads was a very amazing indie game about rock and roll and really, really epic boss fights. And I'm stretching it a lot because we have the third boss in the game, Yinu, the child concert pianist prodigy. For the most part, you don't really fight Yinu. You more so fight her mother, who at the beginning of the fight will hoist up Yinu, and you'll have to use projectiles to shoot her down, while also Yinu is sending out musical notes that are honestly some of the coolest, one of the hardest boss fight in the game. One of them, not the hardest boss, because and after you do enough damage and destroy the piano, her mother comes out and definitely attacks. After defeating her mother a little bit, she turns into a giant cage, which is, again, once it gets to this point in the game, once it gets to this point in the boss fight, it's really difficult, majority of it. Not only that, but right before you're about to deliver the big finish, Yinu stops us and is even mad at us, her mother, and then using her piano, she overgrows a giant flower, which we have to trail upwards, dodging her musical attacks, and then deliver the finishing hit, technically. Yeah, plants aren't so much ingrown in this boss fight as a lot of the other ones, but I do like the kind of symbolism of Yinu being a concert pianist and using nature. If they went far enough, it could have worked for a boss fight. But as it sits, it may be like a number 11, but that's only because the boss fight is really cool and the plant stuff only happens like in the last little bit. So I can't give it so much hype and so much gripe, but at the same time, it's a great boss fight. And it hit all the right notes. Okay. Very rarely do I put Pokemon on a lot of my lists, because it's difficult to find ones that I liked. And thinking of plant themes and Pokemon, yeah, there's not that much grass trainers in the series at all. Erica, who kind of sucks. Is that it? Is that one of the only grass-type gym leaders? Okay, except for the new guy in the new game, but I never played it, so he's off the list. So basically, the only Pokemon grass boss I have to go on is the old tea leaf gardener himself, Ramos from Pokemon X and Y. And I will admit, I just got to do a quick little search up on his team here, because it's been a long time. I remember he had a Jump Pluff and his Go-Goat or something. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Technical difficulties are always here at the Game Hub. I don't know why. One thing I do like about Ramos's gym is how it's kind of platformy, where you gotta use the swings to get onto the platforms on top of the giant tree, and then you slide down when you're done, which is kind of odd. I mean, if it's a grass gym leader, don't you think it would be more like a maze of the high grass so you don't know where all the trainers are? Something like that. Here we go. He had a Jump Pluff, Weeping Bell, and his Go-Goat, which I kind of liked. The only problem is if you stack up on flying and fire, you're basically going to one-shot all of his guys. What number gym leader is he? Is he? The one thing I don't like about Ramos that much is, again, his gym is okay in concept. His team is very generic. Like, again, if you use a lot of, if you use the fire types and you get some flying types and some even bug types, you're basically going to one-shot his whole team and you probably won't even have to switch. This is a big problem I have with the grass type gym leaders. Grass types can be good, but if they're not done perfectly, like in these boss fights, then what's the point? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. He's the 4th leader, so this is another problem I have. He's the half-point gym leader of X and Y, and this is his team. This is how... Yeah. I'm just going to end this by saying, old man, grass. Go back to Woodstock. Was that a good joke? Who cares? Okay, again, stretching the term on plant life, basically. But what if it was a genetic plant and biomechanical hybrid? Does it count? Does it count? Please? This boss gave me so many problems. It is from everyone's least favorite game of the series, Final Fantasy XIII, and we have the Astra Protofluorine. This thing looks like what happens if you take Bulbasaur and make him mechanical. Yeah. The Astra Protofluorine is actually one of the hardest bosses I've had to fight when I played Final Fantasy XIII. Its abilities to prevent itself from being staggered, and it's a pretty okay boss. I mean, design-wise, it's great. But I think if it was in another game, like if it wasn't in this game, it could have been a lot more powerful with its swiping of its claws, with its back legs digging into the ground and regenerating its health. But I do like how the bulb on its back spins out and damages you in a spin cycle. And I did like how you only had hope and lightning during this boss fight. Yeah, not too much to say about this guy, but awesome design. Execution. Yeah, it deserves to go into the mulch bin. Okay, now we have a plant boss everyone loves. Penny Piranha! Here's your refund. Now, I'm going to say this. Penny Piranha has had a lot of boss fights in a majority of the Mario series. First appearing in Sunshine and going far beyond. But the boss fight I like with him is the one in Partners in Time. Him being the final boss of the Sandy Oasis level. And because in every Mario and Luigi game, you need a desert area for some reason. He's in the underground of the Koopa Temple or something. It's... Dear God, I can't remember a lot about the story about that game. But basically, Penny Piranha is the last obstacle you fight in this section. And his boss and his fight is pretty okay. He'll swan dive into the ground and create a shockwave. He'll spit out a bulb, so you have to hammer it back so it doesn't damage you. He'll even go, while he's in the ground, he will become a sand eater and have the sand be going in order to eat you, and so you'll have to jump in order to avoid it. As much, again, as Penny Piranha is done a lot in the Mario series, you can appreciate that they went some of the extra miles to have him as a boss in this. Because from what I recall of Paper Jam, Yeah, he was reduced to a first level boss. Yeah. Next time, buddy. Next time. Okay, a majority of you are going to look at me like I'm freaking crazy for putting something like this high, kind of middle of the list. But bear with me. Ben 10, Protector of Earth, was one of my favorite games as a kid. It captured the humor and the action of Ben 10 in a video game that wasn't stupid. Okay, some of it was a little stupid. But then we get to the level of Seattle, where plant hybrid monsters have been roaming the city. And it is honest. It leads to the top of the tower where a parasitic vegetative monster known as the Snapdragon created a plant-like lair at the top of the tower, and it is a glorious boss fight. This thing's design is so simple, so basic, but at the same time gives me so much pleasure to talk about it. It's great. From the boss fight, you just gotta destroy its 3 eggs that are in the center of the ring, while at the same time avoiding his head spin attack, his chomping attack, and then I believe he'll breathe fire later on. Hey, it's a dragon, so sue me. And then after all those eggs are defeated, it's basically a hit and come back kind of strategy you'll have to do. And then there'll be the ramps, which the newly acquired Cannon Bolt will be available in order to ram into this Snapdragon. And the QTEs are perfect. They don't constantly keep the boss fight boring, but at the same time, you will have to kind of redo the same thing you do. But again, the design of this boss is what gets it on the list perfectly. And after beating it, we get an DNA crystal, which brings us back to Wildvine, one of my favorite Ben 10 aliens. So yeah, perfect middle of the game boss, really cool design-wise in terms of plants, and the creatures that it spews. It's beautiful, beautifully done. Okay, this one's gonna take a good while, but Mega Man Battle Network. Yes, one of my favorite series growing up. And I just heard that they are re-releasing all the old games for console in the next year. So I'm happy. Mostly because I never ever played 1, 2, 3, ever beaten 4 or 5, and I've only beaten 6. But the hate comments begin. But if I'm talking about plants, there's technically only 2 people I can really talk about. And considering I never played 3, so Plant Man is off the table. But in all honesty, I really love his anime name, Vine Man. I really love that. I am talking about the horticulture team of Sal and Woodman. Now, again, the game is deeper than the actual series, but I love both. So bear with me. In Battle Network 4 Blue Moon, because depending on what game you pick, you'll have to fight against random characters, and then once you replay the game, you'll have to play the random again. So if you're lucky, you will get access to fighting Sal and Woodman. So basically in this game, Sal is a good friend of Lan and Mega Man, and she's also a eco-activist, which actually fits within her character, being a lover of nature. And when a developer is trying to destroy the park in order to build condos, Sal kind of gets upset. And she joins a radical who tries to go overboard with the cyber terrorism. But she says no, but the NetNavi manipulates Woodman into believing that this is what's good for Sal. So before we can fight him, we have to get through a BS puzzle section. Technically. Or, I'm not really sure what to call them in Mega Man. Puzzle sections or just... No. You just have to avoid his wood towers and basically that's it. Now his boss fight is very good. Being a big, hefty NetNavi, he will not flinch. So using things like paralysis to stop him really doesn't work. He'll use a wind fan to attack you, and his wood towers will come at you, basically dodging them. Using fire chips will basically deplete his health quicker, and you get wood soul afterwards, which is pretty cool. He's not the best net navvy of the games, but all honesty, perfect for this list. Have I gone a list without talking about Kingdom Hearts? Huh. Guess me and Josh Scorcher have a lot in common. Oh wait! Ba-da! Wait, can you do that? Are we able to do that sound effect? Let me try it again. Okay, we can use it. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts and plants. We all know who we're going to talk about. No, not him, no! As much as I do love Marluxia, there is a boss that kind of fits more to this list. Oh boy, I'm going to get hate mail. I am talking about a creature from the latest game. Yes, I'm doing it. It's the Grim Gardeness from the Kingdom of Corona, Tangled's world. After Mother Gothel falls to her literal death, Marluxia decides to use the darkness in her heart to create this overgrown killer boss fight. And again, I do like all the bosses in Kingdom Hearts 3, but overall, the Grim Gardeness is fantastic. The design is perfect. It's a wicked-looking tree monster that, in all honesty, when I heard Tangled was going to be in the game, I was expecting a giant scissor heartless. What? It's Rapunzel. But the Grim Gardeness definitely does have some amazing attacks. She'll throw bomb berries at you. She'll slither throughout. And I like that the arena that you fight her in is within the entire length of the area with the tower. So you have a lot of ground to cover. Not only that, but she'll create thorn fences around you where you'll have to get out of them. And she'll do a couple at a time. And then she'll slither on over to the top of the tower. So you'll have to run up the tower to knock her down and to do a bunch of combos. And she'll also throw a bunch of crows at you. The Grim Gardeness is a cool plant boss because of its design, how well it fits for the location. And all honesty, I couldn't think of a better way to use Mother Gothel as a monster. Plain and simple. Okay. I'm going to need a drink for this one. God, I hate sunflowers after this guy. Yeah. From Cuphead, we have the botanical threat, the terror of the garden. We have Cagney Carnation. This guy is one of the most infuriating weeds I have ever had to play against in a video game. Do you understand me? He's only number 4 on this list. And it's because I despise him this much that he's only slightly not getting on the top 3 list. It is without a doubt one of the most bizarre concepts I've ever seen. Taking the fun dancing flowers of the old school cartoons and turning it into a sneaky SOB. But I love the boss fight. He'll shoot seeds at you, which do one of 2 things. He'll send out boomerangs at you. And all while doing his little jig dance. Can we throw that up there? Doing his stupid little jig of a dance. And then, oh my God, just the minute he gets angry, he decides to overgrow and send out his roots, covering up the platforms on you. So, while at the same time shooting shit at you. So you will have to be on your toes throughout this don't step on the flowers kind of boss fight. but it's enjoyable. But also, he's the last boss of the first area. So the minute you uproot him, you feel good. In all honesty, I fought him so many times. I never wanted to see another flower again. Honestly, I think he's the worst flower in video games. And I think he tops Flowey as a flower boss. Yeah, I said it. Ah! Okay, we're on the next one. Is it gone? It's gone, right? Okay. Yeah, like that was... Okay. So, the Grim Gardeness was technically one of the few female bosses on here that really has a natural green thumb. But we can't do a plant list without the best girl in Botany. The botanical seductress herself, all the way from Arkham Asylum. The one, the only... Hang on. Poison Ivy. They say her lips are poison, but what a way to go. Anyway, talking about her boss fight, is one of the coolest bosses in Arkham Asylum. And there's technically only... Actually, now that I think about it, there's only 3 bosses in that game. Yeah. Okay, technically 4, but we never talk about that. Originally, Ivy wasn't really a villain in this game. She was in the intensive treatment ward, and then Harley just lets her loose, and she goes running to the botanical gardens, and then helps us find Croc's lair with the plant spores that we need. And then Joker gives her a dose of Titan, and she overgrows the entire island. Which is a cool third act twist a little bit. Because Ivy wasn't even on his guest list, but because she got out, he decided to do a little experiment. And then her plants overtake the island, spawning these heat-seeking plants that will shoot spores at you that will definitely hurt you. And then you can see the devastation throughout the game because we're all on Arkham Island. And it's beautifully done. And her boss fight is top-notch. Once we get back to the botanical garden, she takes the garden area that's only for cutscenes and destroys it, revealing this giant mother-fin plant monster that I swear to God is awesome. It's badass. Encapsulating her in its pod. And, okay, yeah, I kind of have this thing where if a boss uses henchmen in order to do the boss fight, I kind of give it a reduction. But the fact that she's using the Arkham employees themselves because of her lady pheromones, basically, and then sends uprooting roots to tangle Batman so you'll have to butt mash to get out of them, and then shooting literal bullet seeds at you, you will have to quickly batarang her while her pod opens up. And then, once she's down, explosive gel 3 times, a good number more times if you're playing on the harder modes. And that's all she wrote. And the boss fight is so epic. It's so dynamic. It fits within Ivy's character to keep herself safe while her giant monster, Petunia or something, and the Arkham guards that she's pretty much seduced into working for her, it fits within her character. And it is definitely one of the best bosses in the Arkham series in general, not just Arkham Asylum. And it is, I give it a round of applause, mostly because what follows it is the worst boss fight in the game, which I will get to in another list. So, for the Botanical Seductress, let me think of words. From the Green Thumb Seductress, from the Botanical Beauty, Poison Ivy is definitely perfect for number 3 of the game. of the list. God, who do I have that can top her? We'll soon find out. I may be stretching this a little bit again, but it still fits. Mega Man Star Force 3. Yeah, I know not a lot of people talk about this game, but it's one of the few Mega Man series that I actually beat, and I really do enjoy it. In the third game, basically all these, the FMENs, or the wizards, which are basically the digital characters in the game, have been corrupted. And one of the most impressive ones is Strong, who is the guardian of the technically Hawaii area of the game. And being the protector of the natural weather and nature computer, he is corrupted with the club card, turning him into Club Strong. Look at this beast! So, originally, he defeated like 100 waves of viruses and didn't get tired. He is absurdly strong. Pun intended. And then when you add in his corrupted mode, Club Strong, this thing looks like Stone Man became Caveman. And he is definitely the biggest, aside from the final boss, the biggest enemy in Star Force. Aside from the final bosses, he is definitely the biggest one. And his boss fight just scents the element of a plant. Even though he's more stone than plant, he does have moss on him. I know that doesn't count, but his boss fight does. Every time he steps on a panel, it will turn it into a patch of green, and as he stands on it, he will be regenerating a bit of health. Not only that, but he will release some seeds that will roll down each way, and if it gets you, the plants will ensnare you and drain your health. So basically, leech seed, basically. Wow, I'm making a lot of Pokemon references in this. I guess it works, though. And he will, and like Captain Caveman, oh, right, half of you are probably not old enough to know that joke. He'll just get in close and start clubbing away at you like you're a whack-a-mole toy at a Chuck E. Cheese. And the one thing I do love about Strong is his motif. It is the fact that he's a badass boss. And I really do love putting him up this high on the list because he is such a cool boss fight. He's such a cool concept. And again, I love Mega Man Star Force. And the boss isn't that difficult to take on. So, it's great. It's still great. I know a lot of people are going to be mad that I didn't put Ivy at number 1. But I think there's one plant boss that just kind of gets a little bit better than the Botanical Beauty. And it's from a game I've only played the once. Last year, from a series I only got into like a couple years ago. I never played the first one. And this boss is a plant-based bonanza. So let's get deep into the mind of a botanical drunk. For those of you who know, Psychonauts 2. Yes, Psychonauts 2 I played last year, and it was a glorious adventure. Especially when we get to Bob's Bottles. Trying to help Bob Zanato out of his slump while he's on a stranded island in his mind to find the 3 seeds he needs to plant. And I mean, playing the game, I knew that it was all about alcoholism because even though he was a botanist and he could control plants with his mind, he was in a slump. I mean, from losing the love of his life, Helmet from being outcasted by his son and the Psychonauts, he went to the booze. And even so, when he wants us to leave, his plants try to help us. Because psychologically, his plants are a part of his mind and they want to help. So I know what you're thinking. What does all this have to do with a plant boss fight? Well, the whole level is basically a spherical island with a whole bunch of water and smaller islands where people don't know, where figments of his imagination don't really know him. And we go through some of his memories. One being his mother, who died when he was a kid, who loved plants as much as he did. His son outcasting him from the Psychonauts, and his husband Helmet. By the way, Psychonauts, good point, putting all this kind of stuff in this game. Make the kids understand the adult shit. And we get him the seeds. And throughout the level, there's been an annoying butterfly who's been trying to keep the seeds away from us. So basically, psychologically, this butterfly is Bob saying that everything's better if you just leave problems be. And the whole level is all about his alcoholism and being isolated from everyone else. Hence the whole desert island thing. And each of the 3 seeds we get represent his mother, his son, and his dead husband. And then the plants grow. Once we get the 3rd one, they grow into, I want to get this name right, the Truhiltia memonstrata. Which the first one is basically a combination of all 3 of their names. Truman, Tila, and Helmet. And they are the plant versions of these 3 characters. And it is monstrous! It is amazing! Considering we are on our door in the circling of the water of the island around us, while the butterfly has trapped Zenato in a cocoon, so we basically have to stop the plants. And it is amazing. Each one takes its turn to attack, throwing petals at you, throwing explosive tomatoes while we're surfing on the door. No, I'm not crazy. This is legitimately what happens in the game. And I love that every single plant kind of says negative things about Bob. And it makes him, because it's the alcoholism, having him think that everyone hates him. And fighting these 3 monsters. Okay, so the setting again. 3 giant plant monsters in the center of an island. While we are riding our door along a cyclone whirlpool around them, shooting tomatoes and shooting our energy beams at the plants. Psychonauts doesn't make anything simple, does it? And the reason this one is so high on the list is because it does utilize plants a lot more. I mean, somewhat. I mean, throughout the level, you can see the overgrown plant-like areas. You can see how it took over all the areas. Because like alcoholism, like plants, alcoholism can overtake everything and make things harder to do. And the combination of alcoholism and desert islands and isolation and plants, it was a cool combination to work with. And the boss fight itself is always a good one because you technically don't have a choice of what you want to do. You just have to keep dodging and just keep shooting. So again, it's almost like the struggle to kind of fight against what's happening. And it's great. And again, I really do love this boss fight. And originally, Poison Ivy was going to be number 1 on the list. But after a lot of thought, this boss fight encompasses plants a little bit more. Because they are psychological plants. And it does a great job of tackling the big issues and just having fun with the plant theme. And it works 100%. So yeah, the Truhiltia memonstrata is my number 1 plant boss. And even though a lot of people think Poison Ivy deserves number 1, trust me, this boss is one that it really works. That's all I can say. And that's it for this month, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Oh boy, that was a great list. I'm glad I got through it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, join me next month where I take you down the twisted rabbit hole of a very maddening board game. This is Gamer K, logging out.